The red light on the tape recorder blinked like a dying eye. Viktor Sokolov could smell dust and old tobacco in the interrogation room. The radiator hissed beneath the window, uneven and metallic, like something breathing in the dark. Across the desk lay a thin folder with his name typed in fading ink. Someone had underlined it twice in blue pencil. He had signed dozens of technical documents in his life, but this one felt heavier than steel. The clock on the wall ticked too loudly. It was already too late to walk out. The prosecutor leaned back and smiled without warmth. There are moments when a man realizes that whatever happens next will not be an argument, but a decision made somewhere above him. Viktor understood that now. The tape recorder clicked louder. Outside, a Ziguli engine coughed in the courtyard. If you were sitting where he sat, would you still believe the truth could protect you? Because Viktor still believed it. And that belief was about to cost him everything. He did not yet know that by morning he would be officially labeled a thief. In 1983, Sverdlovsk moved in gray rhythms. Factory sirens cut the air at 6 every morning. Queues formed before grocery stores even opened. Radios played the same songs through thin apartment walls. Viktor's life had been predictable. He was chief engineer at a metalworks plant on the city's edge. He repaired outdated machinery, filled out forms, argued about missing parts. He had a wife, Lena, and a 14-year-old son who built model airplanes at the kitchen table. They lived in a 2-room apartment with peeling wallpaper and a balcony that overlooked tram tracks. It was not a bad life. Not a good one either. Just stable. The trouble began with a shipment of imported bearings. The plant had received them through a complicated procurement exchange. Weeks later, an audit claimed half of them never existed. Paper records showed signatures, warehouse stamps, approval seals. According to the documents, Viktor had authorized the disappearance. He laughed at first. There must be a mistake, a misprint. He brought his own copies. Numbers did not match. Dates were off by 3 days. The official logbook had an entry he had never written. His signature looked right. Too right. That was the first crack. The second crack came when his supervisor stopped answering his calls. The third came when a man from the city prosecutor's office asked him to clarify minor inconsistencies. Minor inconsistencies turned into a formal accusation of embezzlement of state property. Lena cried quietly at night. Viktor kept saying it would be resolved. He trusted the paperwork. Engineers believe in documentation. Then the prosecutor showed him a witness statement from a warehouse clerk claiming Viktor ordered the goods removed after hours. Viktor had never spoken privately to that clerk. The statement was signed and dated. He stared at it and felt something shift inside him. This was not confusion. This was design. When he decided to file a formal complaint against the audit commission, that was the point of no return. He walked into the district office with a folder under his arm and demanded a review. The clerk took the folder without looking at him. 2 days later, he was summoned for interrogation. He still believed logic would win. He did not yet understand the mechanism moving around him. Chapter 2. The mechanism. The prosecutor's office smelled of paper and polish. Portraits of party leaders hung above wooden desks. Conversations stopped when Viktor entered rooms. Files traveled faster than people. Each page carried authority. Each stamp was final. The interrogation felt rehearsed. The prosecutor, Andreev, never raised his voice. He simply presented documents. A requisition order, a transport log, a witness, a revised inventory sheet. The inventory sheet contained a subtle mismatch in serial numbers. Viktor noticed it immediately. The difference was minor, but deliberate. Clerical error, Andreev said calmly. Irrelevant. Victor asked to see the original warehouse journal. He was told it had been archived. He requested to speak directly with the clerk who accused him. He was told she was unavailable. Every door led to another corridor. Every corridor led back to the same desk. One evening he waited outside the plant gates and approached an old colleague. The man avoided his eyes. "They told us not to discuss it," he whispered. "It came from above." Above. The word echoed. At home, Lena suggested they stay quiet. "Maybe they just need someone," she said. It was said gently, but the meaning cut. Someone. Victor began to feel watched. A Volga car parked near their building 2 nights in a row. The phone clicked strangely before dialing. It could have been nothing. In 1983, it was hard to know. The moment of realization came when Andreev slid a typed confession across the table. "Sign it," he said softly. "You will receive a suspended sentence. Cooperation matters." The confession described actions Victor never took. It described motives he did not have. It ended with a sentence about regret. Victor understood then that truth was not part of the procedure. The procedure was the truth. He refused to sign, and that refusal changed everything. He did not know who had set the trap. Not yet. Chapter 3: The Trace. Engineers solve problems by tracing faults. Victor began to trace his own destruction. He returned to the plant unofficially and spoke to the night guard, an aging man who liked tea more than rules. Over a quiet kitchen conversation in the guard's apartment, the man admitted he had seen a truck leave the warehouse weeks before the audit. It was not on Victor's shift. He remembered because the driver had no proper paperwork and argued loudly. "I kept quiet," the guard said. "They told me to forget." He was afraid to testify, afraid of losing his pension. Would you have done the same? Chapter 5: Justice or Survival. The trial moved quickly. Officially, it was transparent. In reality, it was predetermined. The courtroom smelled of varnish and damp wool coats. Party members filled the first rows. The prosecutor spoke calmly, presenting documents as if they were undeniable physics. Paper does not hesitate. Paper does not blush. Victor's defense attorney advised him to cooperate. "Reduce the damage," he said. "Think of your family." During a recess, something unexpected happened. The warehouse clerk, the frightened woman from the market, requested to amend her testimony. She walked to the stand with shaking hands. The room grew quiet. She stated that her original statement had been dictated. She did not accuse names. She did not dare. But she said she had never personally seen Victor remove goods. It was not a revolution. It was a crack. The prosecutor objected. The judge hesitated. The atmosphere shifted almost invisibly. Then Victor did something dangerous. He requested permission to present the earlier inventory list he had preserved. The judge examined it briefly. The prosecutor dismissed it as an unofficial draft. But the serial numbers matched shipment records from a secondary facility recently audited by regional authorities. That audit had uncovered irregularities unrelated to Victor's case. A murmur moved through the courtroom. For the first time, Andreev looked uncertain. Not afraid, just calculating. The judge announced a temporary suspension of proceedings pending review of documentation. It was a procedural move, but it meant the script had changed. Behind closed doors, negotiations began. Not with Victor directly, with higher offices. It turned out the diversion scheme extended beyond a single plant. Exposing it fully would embarrass regional leadership. A quiet solution was preferable. The offer arrived through Victor's lawyer. Charges would be reduced to administrative negligence. No prison term, loss of position, a public statement about procedural oversight. In return, Victor would cease further complaints and withdraw accusations of fabrication. It was not justice. It was survival disguised as compromise. If he refused, the full weight of the original charges could return. If he accepted, the larger scheme would remain mostly hidden. Lena visited again. "Come home," she said. "We can rebuild." Victor understood the arithmetic. One gear of the machine could be sacrificed. The rest would keep turning. In court, he stood and spoke carefully. He did not confess to theft. He acknowledged irregularities in supervision. The language tasted bitter. The judge issued a revised verdict. Suspended sentence. Dismissal from his post. The newspaper printed a short note about administrative mismanagement. No apology followed. But within months, the regional procurement director quietly lost his position. An internal reshuffling. No headlines. No trials. Just absence. One gear had broken. The system did not fall. It adjusted. Epilogue. Victor never returned to engineering leadership. He worked smaller jobs. Technical repairs. Consulting under the table. People still whispered sometimes, but less loudly. His son grew older and stopped bringing up the arrest. Lena found work again in a different district. The night guard recovered but avoided eye contact in the street. The warehouse clerk transferred to another city. Years later, when the country itself began to fracture, Victor would hear public discussions about corruption and remember the smell of that interrogation room, the hiss of the radiator, the blinking red light. He had not defeated the machine, but he had refused to feed it. And sometimes, in systems built on signatures, refusal is the only permanent mark a man can leave.